Welcome to Craft Chat Chronicles, the go-to podcast for tips on crafting best-selling fiction. Here at Craft Chat Chronicles, we bring you expert interviews, insights, and tips on writing, publishing, and marketing. Join the conversation and embark on a new chapter in your writing journey. For workshops, show notes, and more information, visit jdmyall.com. That's jdmyall.com.
On this episode of Craft Chat Chronicles, we're going on a writer's journey with good writers and good friends. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of A Writer's Journey. In this episode, we're going to be talking about writer friendships and how great they can be, but also, some things happen at times. Just put it that way. To get us kicked off, JD, what are we going to be talking about? What are we starting with?
Well, I guess we could kick it off with a kidney. Talking about the infamous Bad Art Friends saga.
Mm-hmm.
The literary feud that turned into a viral cautionary tale about writing friendships. So if you missed this one, buckle up. A writer donates a kidney, writes about it online in a secret Facebook group. Her writer friend sees this and writes her exact experience in a short story. The short story blows up, elevates her career, and then she gets upset. So upset that she reaches out to schools that this author is appearing at and accuses her of being plagiarizing and why are you hosting this person? And then she goes to do a book festival and they were going to give away tons of copies of the book. And she's posing with these huge rock star writers and in pictures. And the woman who donated the kidney is getting even more upset. Because in the story, the kidney donation is not looked at as like this brilliant gift of love. It's looked at as like this entitled white woman who has a white savior complex. Giving the kidney in a narcissistic act of, look at me, this is the wonderful good thing I've done. So she then reaches out to the festival and she threatens to sue them and she accuses the woman of plagiarism. And the festival says, okay, well, we don't want to get sued, so we're not hosting it this year. So then the writer who took her friend's story has her friends reach out to the festival. And basically her friends, some of them are real heavy hitters, like the lady who wrote that Little Fires Everywhere. Probably butchering the title, but a lot of heavy hitters.
She has well-known writer friends, yeah.
Yeah, and they reach out, and basically the festival responds by saying, we have grounds to sue you. It shouldn't have been submitted to us in the first place because of the whole plagiarism accusations, and we can't, distribute this because we don't want to be sued. Stop having your friends contact us. So it's kind of a hit to her career. So through the lawsuit, emails are leaked, and from the emails and the group chat, you realize that the woman who donated the kidney really had no friends because her friends were all talking about her in doing this and how distasteful it was to post this kidney donation. And the one girl who wrote the story is like, oh, she's a literary gold mine. I could write about her forever because of these type of antics and choices. And so the group chats all come out, the literary world collectively side eyes, and they're wondering who's the villain. And weirdly, the whole thing made me think of Drake. A lot of times we don't know what we have blind spots to until someone points us out. And if you followed the whole Drake Kendrick Lamar beef like I did,
yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah, when Drake did the one response where he had his white mother tell him, don't say the N-word, or when he said Kendrick raps like he's trying to free the slaves, and you just set Kendrick up for the line where he's saying, homie still double down, trying to call us slaves and called him a colonizer and all this stuff. It's like he didn't see that those choices through the lens of culture could have been interpreted differently. And I think when this woman posted her journey of getting a kidney, to her, it was like, this is an important part of my life. This is a great thing I'm doing. She didn't realize that culturally, through whatever eyes other people were looking at it, they could have interpreted it differently. Like, if it was a good thing, why did you have to brag about it? If it was for the other
What?
person, maybe it's
But
about
I
you.
feel like you're giving her a lot of grace. But I mean, like she did it to get, um, she wanted, I feel like she wanted to be liked,
Mhm.
and she wanted that admiration from these writers, particularly probably because some of them are known, are doing well, and she wanted their respect and admiration. And so it's like, yes, she did a thing that is selfless, but at the same time, she did it for the wrong reasons, from what I'm understanding from the situation, and then all the gossipy texts that came out. Um, and so it's just like one of these situations where, like you're saying, someone not understanding their own blind spot. And I'm not sure if someone tried to explain that to her before the short story was written and all that sort of thing. It seemed like people were really just got kind of basically disgusted by it and just kind of kept their distance. Instead of saying, "Hey, this is seems in bad taste, and here's why." But I get why nobody did that, or it seems like no one did that because these people weren't, they don't really friends anyway. And from my understanding, that the lady that wrote the short story basically says that like we weren't friends. It's like, okay, yeah, we're all part of this writers community, um, and maybe giving each other support in some sort of way, but from her perspective, she wasn't necessarily friends with this other woman, where the other woman, I guess, thought they were.
Very true. It's honestly very messy. And I think that's what made this story so compelling to people online and made it go viral. It's because, first of all, they were all well-known writers. So these were names people knew. And then secondly, to get to peek behind the curtain and see the ins and outs and the messy yucca friendships was intriguing. But I don't know. I'm trying to give her a little grace and shoot her a little bail because I don't know why, but just,
I thought
I
you were
mean,
gonna say why. Oh.
maybe because we've all like sometimes not realized our own internalized mess. Like, I remember one of my very, very super early um writing experiences, and this one never like saw the light of day. So that's how long ago it was. But I wrote this story, and one of my beta readers told me that it had like echoes of misogyny. And I remember being quite embarrassed being a woman. But when you consider, growing up in the hip hop culture, being raised on Purple Rain and stuff like that, there's a lot of, when you rewatch these things and you re-listen to things of those times, you know what I mean? There's a lot of misogyny in certain messaging that you're exposed to a lot, to where you can internalize it even as a woman and not realize it till somebody points it out to you. And
Not
then
just
you're like,
hip hop.
oh,
This is culture in general,
true,
society
cultural
in
in
general.
general, but I just
Yeah.
use that as an example because I love hip hop. But like I said, you sometimes we don't realize things about ourselves until somebody points it out. And then once somebody points it out, you can be like, oh wow, I need to work on that. And then you do. And that's why beta readers and crit partners are important, because thank
Yeah.
God I didn't see the world. So I'd rather you tell me, privately and in person than, or you know what I mean, than the world tell me and I'm caught with my pants down looking crazy. So, that's why those things are important. But I guess her friends didn't pull her aside and say, hey, people could interpret this differently. And I've been in situations like that. I had a friend who went to Africa and posted all these pictures with these adorable African kids, but then the caption is like, "Oh, well, I gave them money," and was just going on and on, like these particular children were like so impoverished and struggling, and oh, what they have over there is nothing like what we have here, and it was like, don't know how to feel about this,
Mhm.
because if it's from the heart, why would you have to say that? You know what I mean? So you get that conflicted feeling. And then I remember years ago having a friend tell me a story about how they went to this place their computer had broken and they didn't have money to buy a new one. And they went to this place that was like, oh, yada, yada. If you make under X, we'll donate computers to you and help you out. And they go, but then when they get there, the people are like, want a video testimony of their poverty. It's like, what
What?
are they qualify for it? And what is this craziness? You know what I mean? Like, if charity is from the heart, does it have to be advertised? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and people read it wrong. So if you're the person that's doing that and you don't have the friend that's telling you, we're the friend that's telling you, that doesn't look so good. People interpret that a way that you might not want it interpreted, right? So maybe not, maybe just let your duty be between you, the person you help, and whatever higher power you believe in. But I don't
Yeah.
but it was super
And
interesting though. I wonder how she felt discovering that her friends really weren't her friends because, like I said, there was a lot of entitled white woman talk and a lot of white savior complex talk going on. And it's just like, I wonder. Oh, and then the most fun um, part that I liked about it was when the woman who wrote the story had to at one point defend it. And she was basically, talking about the white savior narrative and the woman's entitlement. And then she was basically like, my story wasn't about this person and they shouldn't want it to be about them. She was
you shouldn't
basically like,
want to be
why would you
associated
claim
with this.
this?
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Um,
So,
I just feel like both of them could have handled the situations differently.
mhm,
Whereas, so the person who wrote the story, just to keep from things from escalating from the start, I think there's two things that could have been done. That letter that kind of sparked off the plagiarism type um conversation, if it had been written initially, like the initial time it was published, to maybe have the feel of the letter but not actual like sentences from it, that's one thing. Like it eventually was published to have the feel of it, but if that was how it was from the start, that could have stopped some things. And then two, I felt like if she had picked some other sort of donation or charity that is selfless but also can be seen as narcissistic white privilege or white savior complex, it would have kept the intent of her story without having to directly be pointed at this one person, and then everyone in her circle would have known it was this one
mhm,
person, and that could have been their inside chuckle or whatever. But but then like it could have protected her from all the litigation
really.
and all that stuff that subsequently happened. And
Mm,
then the other person just went too far. Like just from the start, like all the messaging, and she kept hounding this woman. Did you like basically like, are you writing a story about me? Did you write it? And like the lady wasn't responding, so she doesn't owe you anything. And that whole that's the privilege part of the privilege part where she's like pushing and pushing, and it's just like if you have a story to tell, tell your story. Stop antagonizing this other person and basically to me it seemed like a little bit of harassment, even like after the fact, where I guess this was years later, where the writer is doing like virtual like book stuff, panels and that sort of thing, and that lady has joined them. And to me, that's like it. It's like threatening and stalkerish, and it's weird. Um, and so it's just like you kind of see, even from the New York Times article, why people feel not so great about this lady in the first place. Um, but then, like I said, there are other things that could have been done on the other end to keep the story from pointing directly towards her. But yeah,
that's true. She could have made it like a bone marrow donation, for example.
yeah, yeah.
And fun fact, I heard that the woman in question, Dawn Dorland, is the one who donated the kidney. And fun fact, I heard that it was her who actually approached the Times. So I don't think she was expecting the article to be scathing of her as well. Right when she
Well, that's it. You don't know your own blind spots. You think like that's privilege where you think you're so in the right, and it's just like, oh, you're a little off here too. And I love that the person who wrote that article put it all in there. Like these are their personalities, and this is. And from her own words, and her own actions. It's just like, okay, you think you're in the right, but I'm holding this mirror up to you again. Take it or leave it. I don't know.
And Sonia Larson was the one who um, allegedly lifted the Real Life Act and wrote the story. And her story was called The Kindness.
Which is that title is also kind of funny too, just in retrospective. All the whole situation.
And you're right. It was her responses were over the top. Um, Definitely, I wouldn't have written to the festivals and schools that she attended and stuff like that. If I was going to sue, then I would have sued. You know what I mean? But I would have just left it at that. I wouldn't have done all the other stuff. But the friend was like equally wrong too. If you look at the situation, like they said, the earlier drafts had she had written a letter to the person she donated kidneys to and posted that on Facebook as well.
Dawn had, yeah.
Yeah, Dawn had, and like you said, parts of that letter were in the original draft. In the original draft of the novel, the main character's name was Dawn. She later changed it to Rose.
It's just like stuff like that. Like it's on paper, like it's on, let's do those things from the start instead of, yeah.
Right. And to me, like I said, to me, it showed a lot of human nature
Oh yeah.
because people don't know their blind spots. That woman didn't know hers clearly. She thought she was in the right. The friend thought she was in the right, but I don't think any of them were actual friends.
They were friends. And I think Sonia even said that she didn't see this person as a friend. She never did. Um, so
Yeah. So that brought us to the question of how do we build healthy friendships in publishing? What do publishing and writing friendships look like? So, would you like to share a story about any author friendships or author friendship drama that you've had, or should we start with our story and how we met?
we met in the Drexel MFA program. We were part of the second cohort. But we were on different tracks. You were in the fiction program and I was in the screenwriting program at the time. And so I remember, and it was during COVID, so we didn't get to meet in person until we were just about to graduate during our last residency. But I remember seeing your picture in like the they weren't really message boards, but like the boards and when we had some classes together and we would have to post in the little boards and read people's things. Um and I was like, oh, I want to be friends with this person. And so when it came time for the reading for my cohort, so we were screenwriters, so then we had to get other people to read for us. And I reached out to you and you were great and said yes. And we met in person that what the day before or whatever, but then really got to know each other that night. And we've been friends ever since. And funny enough, I think is that the only time we've been in person?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like I've known you forever, but
that weekend. But yeah,
that weekend is the only time we've ever seen each other in person. Um, so yeah, and so it's just been like a really great budding friendship, and I'm learning stuff about fiction from you, and hopefully just trying to show you some things about screenwriting, as well. And like it's been a positive friendship. So this is what been one of my positive um writer friendships. You got all these amazing things happening since you graduated, and I'm just so happy and proud. And I like because I get to read some things ahead of time, which is cool. And you've always been very supportive of me. So yeah, we have a good friendship going. But I've
we
been
do,
talking.
we do. My version of it though is different.
Oh, really? What do you mean?
So my version of the weekend we met is I hadn't seen you before. Like we did have class together, but I'm really not good in the like virtual and Discord space. I'm not the girl that engages like at all the time. And so I didn't like remember the faces and the names and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And then when we got together, at the graduation and stuff, it was a predominantly white environment. So when you see the brown faces in a predominantly white environment, you're like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
this is nice to see somebody that looks like you in a sea of people that don't, basically. So I did remember like looking at you like, hey, how's she? Cool to know her. You know what I mean? But I don't remember you from the classes. And then my experience of it was, like I said, the first day at lunch, I went out to lunch with these girls and kind of felt a little cliquey. The environment at that time, it was a lot of literary people in my cohort, and I'm fantasy, so I didn't exactly fit. You know what I mean?
Maybe we should do a podcast about literary versus genre as well. But
Yeah. So, like I said, we went out to lunch. Everybody, when they dismissed for lunch, we all walked out. We got lunch together. We sat, we ate, we chatted. And I thought it went really well. But then the next day, when it was time for lunch, they beelined out and left me. So then I was like pitiful all by myself, like, well, damn.
Like being in school all over again.
So I guess I'll go to my room. So I got some food and I went up to my room. And then I think it was like later that day, like around the dinner time, wasn't it? When I met you, or was it the next day at lunch? Hi, JD Mile here. Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to thank you for tuning in and to let you know that this episode of Craft Chat Chronicles has been brought to you by Heart's Gambit, my debut novel. It's available for pre-order right now at barnesandnoble.com. What is Heart's Gambit, you ask? It's about two time-traveling families, one cursed magical duel, and the pair of star-crossed lovers who might break the cycle if they don't break each other first. If you love the time travel romance of Outlander and the lush, haunting magic of the Night Circus, this is the book for you. Pre-order Heart's Gambit today at barnesandnobles.com and grab your copy when it hits shelves on February 3rd, 2026, wherever books are sold. Again, pre-order Heart's Gambit today at barnesandnoble.com and grab a copy when it hits store shelves on February 3rd, 2026. And while you're at it, don't forget to buy a copy of today's guest book and support their projects as well. Support authors, support bold stories. Now, back to Craft Chat Chronicles. Let's get chatty.
I can't remember. It might have been around dinner time. Is that where you were like waiting for your food and I came in with some other people?
Yeah, and then I just kind of latched on.
I can't remember what. Yeah.
I was desperate for companionship during the lunch break, so I attached myself to the group.
Well, I'm glad
And
you
then we
did.
started talking, and then later on they had another break between different like panels and classes and stuff that were going on in the residency. And then it was me, you, and Mo, and y'all were trying to decide what you wanted to do for, because this wasn't a long break. It was like maybe 20 minutes or something, or 30. And you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do. And then I was like, hey, I got a room in the hotel. Just come on up, we'll chat. And then you guys came
My
up, and then
reading,
that's when we really
yeah.
started talking
Because you
and
and
getting to
Mo
know
were
each
part
other.
of my reading, and then we went up to them
Yeah.
and started chatting, and
Yeah.
that was the beginning
Yeah.
of our friendships.
So my strongest memory was of being abandoned the next day. Then you're like, well, so then when I saw you, I was like, hey, attached to this crew and hope they don't shake me loose.
No.
I've always been awkward. That was my awkwardness again.
You. And that's like it's funny though because like I've always been that person too that people just like abandon and run away from, and it's just like okay, I'm a kind person. Like what is this? It's the awkwardness, I guess. I don't know, and I can be pretty quiet sometimes too, but hmm. But we latched on to each other. Here we are.
Yeah. And the lesson in that is that writer friendships, they can be fun, they can be exciting. Um, but they can also be challenging when you have people who you share ambitions and goals with. It can get weird sometimes. So let's talk about some of the weirdness.
Sure. I mean, I have another writer friend that I knew from the first grad program that I did, like first
Mhm.
MFA program. Still a very good friend. love her dearly. Hey, Ernie. Um, but for me, so like she published a book and then published things. And I've never been like jealous of people. It's always been like I'm happy for them doing what they set out to do. It's always more of a, well, why haven't you done this yet? Like it's more of like beating myself up type thing. So I remember I had a friend that published a book, and it took me more than a year to realize that I didn't buy it.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh shit, like what kind of a friend am I? Like buy my friend's book. Jesus, what is wrong with you? So I did. I did buy the book, and then it took me a while to read it. Um, because I know there were like some stories that were in there that I had read a part of or knew about or whatever. And it was just hard because it was just like, this person was able to do this. Why aren't you? They are also working full time. I have other friends who have children and that's families and that sort of thing. And so for me, it's always been this battle of beating myself up. Um, Sorry, I'm getting emotional. And that's something I've been working
Okay.
through, and it's for like 15 years, just like working through that. And having you has been really great because you like contact me, we'll be talking, be like, what are you working on? And so it keeps me honest of whether I'm working on something or not. But like, um, especially more recently, I'm pushing because I'm seeing my friends do this, and it's just like I have these skills too.
Mhm.
There's nothing different from us all. So like it's helping me. So like for me, like I've never been so jealous of someone to be like mean towards them or like not talk to them or whatever. It's more beating myself up. But there was those moments, especially early on, where I couldn't read what people I knew had published because it's just added more to my own self flagellation or whatever the word is, self doubt and all that kind of stuff. But now it's different. Now I'm not like that anymore. I'm just like, I can read stuff like that haven't been like for you hasn't been published yet, or for and like give feedback, like be a reader for people.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so there's that for me in terms of how I've felt about friends who have written. I don't know. Do you want me to go on in terms of how other writer friends have treated me, or are we gonna? You want to tell
Yeah,
your?
go ahead.
Okay.
Well, actually, before you go there, I want to talk about what you just talked about because I've experienced that too, and that's very real and very human and very natural. I had a friend who I'm going to give as much detail as I can without giving away who I'm talking to because I don't want them to watch it and be like,
You didn't write a whole
but
story. Not yet, anyway.
yeah, but I had a friend who had a great deal of success pretty quick into their publishing path. And they reached some of my dreams and lifelong goals in publishing. And this was at a time when I wasn't even agented yet. And we started out like together at the same time, and then they just hit. So then it was like, damn, it's like, yay for her, so happy for her, woohoo. And really, like from the bottom of my heart, was happy for her, was proud for her, was showing people, this is my friend, you know what I mean? And like, I'd be at work pulling it up and showing people so excited for her. But at the same time, it caused that same self doubt that you were talking about for myself. And it was like, damn, do I suck? Why is this not happening for me too? Am I terrible? Are people just too kind to tell me? So I get that, and those emotions are completely valid, and we all go through that. So, like, it's beautiful to have friends with shared goals and ambitions because you can talk to them about things other people might not understand, like querying of submission and revision hell and all of the stuff and the emotions that go into it, and even like ask professional advice. But it's also hard because when you have friends with the same goals and ambitions, everybody doesn't make it at the same time. So then you have to deal with when they're up and you're down, or vice versa. You know what I mean? And then that can make it like messy and complicated. The story we just saw was messy, or talked about was messy and complicated. Um, so it can get challenging. Now, talk about what people have done to you.
Yeah, so I'm not in a position, so I've been attempting to write and whatever for quite a while, but I've, like I said, beating myself up and not really putting things out there. I'm not in a place where I can help people do anything. I can help people, like, connect people to certain people. I might be now in a sense, but uh feel like writer friends that I've had have viewed me as, and even should I even call them friends, someone who can't help them get published or get to help them reach their goal in a particular way, to connect them to people in the industry in that sort of way. So therefore it was just kind of, I felt like their distance was put there because I'm not useful to them. Um and so I see that, okay, then these people aren't actually my friends. Um and if and when I do get to those know certain people, and maybe I do at this point, I feel like those aren't folks that I would go out of my way to help or connect, because you weren't my friends. You weren't here just for me as a human being. Um, so therefore, why go out of my way for that? I don't know if that's a good way to think, but
Human, it's real. Why would you bend over backwards for people who wouldn't bend a pinky to assist
I
you?
mean, it's just
You know
like
what I mean?
not even asking me how I am, or like, it's like, okay, well, you don't really care about me,
Mhm.
so
And that's
I
the
think,
crazy thing about, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just say I think that's important for anybody who's in any sort of industry or whatever, where you are or can be next to gatekeepers in a sense, to beware of that.
Mhm.
Why are people getting close to you or in your life, whatever.
And it can also go other ways too, because there are scenarios where people could warm up to somebody who hasn't made it yet because they want to get closer to someone who has. You know what I mean? So there's like layers to how
Yeah.
people can be backstabby and messy, and the betrayal, the what they think is power. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. What
And how
they
they
think is
can exploit
power,
to try to get close to it. Yeah.
we're not realizing sometimes people in areas where you think there is no power, there actually is great power. You're just not seeing. Because not everybody is like flashy like that. You gotta
Right.
protect yourself and protect the people around you.
Exactly. 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 I felt that too. Earlier in my journey, I remember being at the literary awards one time, and I was always in this weird position where I would interview authors. So I was always like side from publishing, but hadn't reached my publishing goals yet.
Mm,
So I would be networking with people who had like reached all kind of heights, but I'm still in the query trenches. I'm still just trying to make it. And in a lot of ways, it was strategy because it was networking, it was trying to meet people and trying to get in the room where if this is your dream, you want to be in the room where it's happening, kind of thing.
yeah,
But the downside about that is when you're in the room and you haven't really reached those goals yet, then a lot of times you get that feeling where you were talking about where people are like look past you and not necessarily at you.
yeah.
Or like one time I had a writer who was way more accomplished than me, who I thought we were friends with, like I felt like kind of trying to put me down intentionally, like she's introducing me to someone. And she was like, oh, she's got like thousands of little books on Amazon, which was not true at all. Like I had one at the time, really bad book that I did very early in my writing career.
I
You
wonder who
know,
did
my
books.
skills have grown way from that point more than a decade ago, but it was only one. It wasn't like a million little books. You know what I mean?
Mm, yeah.
So to me, it felt like that was very much of a condescending meant to put me down or to put me in a certain category to this other person who was also more established.
Hmm.
And so I had lots of those little moments where you felt like you're there, but you don't necessarily belong. And then I've also had the flip side, like once you start selling books or getting agented, or you're moving into a different area, then it's like sometimes some of the people who treated you like that start to now be nicer. And then it's like, but yeah, you're full of it because you didn't really actually like me. Because I remember how you treated me before I sold the book. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's a lot of performative friendships, you know, a lot of us associate type relationships where people like will take pictures with you and call you bestie or sister or cousin or whatever. And then you see them like what, once or twice a year at an author event. You know what I
Right.
mean?
They talk about you
And
bad in the group chat.
yeah. And then they're the ones who are like actual legitimate friends who will call you and check on you, who will be like, I haven't heard from you in a while. Are you good? Or I'm having this thing. Can you come? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so it's a vast variety of awkwardness, and people never know where. And also anybody listening to this, please don't assume I'm talking about you because likely I'm not. You know? So please don't, you know how people like to like think you're subtweeting and
Think
you're
that,
not. No, I'm
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So don't be like, getting your feelings about stuff that may have nothing to do with you at all. I could be talking about somebody totally different. So don't even
And if you
stress
think
yourself
that,
out.
ask.
Exactly. Don't
Text
stress
me.
yourself out.
Yeah.
Don't be like the bad author friend. I go plotting my downfall, and it might even probably most likely ain't even you I'm mentioning of mine.
Right. It's communication, communication.
Exactly. So yeah, it's complicated. And going back briefly to the story we just talked about, there's also a thin line between like inspiration and what they did wrong in that story, because sometimes friendships can inspire you. So sometimes when people are reading into things, it might be a grain of truth, but usually it's not. You know what I mean? Like, most people aren't the kidney stealing friend. You know what I mean? Most
You're right.
people don't go into friendships. Well, most legitimate people don't go into friendships with the what can I get from this? They go into this with the I want to know you. I want to be cool with you space. And that story made me cautious because I'm in some debut groups, and I told you I host like the author meetups like once a month. And I really want to do one specific to authors of color too, because sometimes we have different issues that have to be addressed. But like it makes you scared because like I don't do the Discord a lot. A lot of people do. A lot of people stay in those debut Discords texting all day, but I'm not trying to put a ton of shit in writing.
And you shouldn't. I mean, I know we're writers, but there are thin times you have to think of legal aspects, things.
Right, especially like some of them have like the venting and ranting segments, and people will get in there and vent and rant. And hopefully it's a safe space, but some of those groups can have like up to 400 people in them.
That's all.
So you
When
should consider it public when the group's that large. Like,
I mean, and also you have to think about, well, going back to the story where we just talked about, because there was court proceedings, all that stuff, all of the text messages and the group chat and stuff got what discovery was part of discovery.
mhm,
So, what you
it
think,
all became public.
yeah, it all became public. So in the moment, what you think are private spaces could later on become public because something happens and is being litigated, and there's the right to put that stuff out there. So
And that's why I do the monthly meetups, because I'm more of a face-to-face gal.
mhm.
Like to me, like even with us, like right now, like how we said we've only met in person the one, weekend
Yeah.
or whatever. Well, when
Yeah,
you face to face, you feel more of a connection. You feel like you know the person. It's like you're actually hanging out with the person.
exactly.
And I prefer that than the constantly text with strangers, because the way my mind works, I won't commit the faces to the names. And so to me, it wouldn't have the same depth. It might to you, because I might respond to you in the thing, and then you're thinking that we've formed this relationship. But in my head,
Right.
if you're one of 400 names on a screen, I'm not remembering all them. My memory is not that great. You know what I mean? But if
Right.
I see you in a Zoom, then I can be like, oh, there she is. You know what I mean? That resonates with me and connects with me more. Um, but it also, like I said, it made me more cautious in how I communicate. In a Zoom or a private chat space, I'll be more candid about the pros, the cons, the things I'm going through that you want to know as an artist. Like, is this person reputable? Is that person? What's your experience? I'll be completely transparent in a private setting, but there's certain things I couldn't or wouldn't say publicly.
Right. And you shouldn't.
Right.
But also, I have to tell you, my fears in this started in high school. So, AOL Instant Messenger, AIM, for those of you who are old like I, uh, I used to, talk to that, to my friends on that a lot. And because I thought they were my friends, I would just say what I wanted to say and things. And I later found that a person was printing them out, and letting our other friends read them. And so there were things that I told this person that I wouldn't have told or said to the other people. Um, and it was done to embarrass me, and it created a lot of shame for me. Um, so just I don't know why I'm telling this to you. It just reminded me of something that happened. It was like very traumatic at the time, and has caused issues for me in terms of like trusting people and writing things down and that sort of thing. So just be careful, I guess, is the main theme of it all in terms of who you're friends with, who you think you're friends with, and understand there are levels of friendship. So someone might be your best friend, but that doesn't necessarily mean you are their best friend.
Very true.
So things like that.
And I also think it's important to, because there's levels in publishing too, as we go through them, because we all go through them at different timelines. Don't abandon anybody, um,
Right.
because you wouldn't have wanted to be abandoned in that space, and because shit changes. You know what I
You
mean?
never know who that person might end up being.
Exactly. That person might be the next Tyler Perry or somebody, and you burn that bridge for no reason. Um, Tyler Perry told a story about, I wish I could remember the story, but it was about the first time he met Oprah and he was like working at a hotel or something.
Hmm.
And so he wasn't Tyler. He wasn't anywhere near Tyler, but thankfully that wasn't a horrible memory in his mind. You know what I mean? Like because later on when Owen was in trouble, Tyler was one of the people that came along and helped save the network, with
Yeah,
his writing skills and stuff. So I forget the story though. I wish I could repeat it, but just said my memory's not that grand. But yeah. So one of my own personal experiences was on the opposite side of the story I told earlier, where I was like when my friend was up and then I was still down, how that made self-doubt was when had something happen that I was excited about professionally and I shared it with friends. And one friend's like, "Yeah," and the other friend's just like clearly pissed, visibly pissed. Like you could
no.
see it all over her face.
Hmm.
And it was awkward because it put me in a position of questioning the friendship because, like I said, I was in spaces where I was down and my friend was up before and I was legitimately happy for her. So even if I had some self-doubt emerge from her joy, where I was like, well, damn, how come it didn't happen to me? Am I not good enough? It never made me mad at her success. I was legitimately happy for her and rooting for her. So to see legitimate anger on the face in my good news just made me be like, wow, is this person actually my friend? Like, were we just associates in this weird industry? Like, you know what I mean? It
Yeah,
just changed my view of that person drastically.
that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I I feel like in any industry, really, it's just par for the course. Well, with any success that anybody has, so people who will be happy for you, and other people who aren't. And you just have to focus on being happy with yourself. And then, if you've got the people around you who are happy for you, that's amazing. And who cares about the haters?
Exactly. You have to be happy for your friends without feeling like it dims you in any way because it doesn't.
Because it doesn't.
Everybody's on separate journeys and separate times and you'll find your writing soulmates.
You will, yes. It's been a long process for me, like just trying to find my group of people.
Hmm.
trying to find my crew, and like I feel like I do have folks now, and it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. Like I don't have as much of that self-doubt anymore. Um, I have writer friends to talk about things with and to lift me up. So try and find your circle and don't worry about the people. Don't worry about the haters. You'll find the people who are right for you.
And the people who have the performative friendships where it's like less ride or die and more comment and tag. Some of the writer cliques can be kind of high school, but give that some grace too, because you got to keep in mind that a lot of times I find that happens with people who are on a different level than you.
You mean different?
Um, or at least in the scenarios where I ran into that, a lot of times it was the people who were more established in their writing career than I was at the time. And being that they were on a more established level, maybe they had people approaching them under the guise of friendship who were really trying to get a leg up or get ahead or get this or get that from them. So maybe it wasn't so much of an intentionally trying to feel unwelcome. Maybe it was more of a my guards up a little bit.
Regard.
You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be exploited or mistreated. And then,
Yeah.
as I mentioned previously, I'm socially awkward. So maybe they didn't even realize I was feeling any of this. It's like, you know what I mean?
Oh
You
yeah.
know, most writers are introverts. Most of us are awkward people. And I am ADD as hell. I talk a lot. I interrupt because the damn ADD just is excited and jumping into conversations. So I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. You're not going to like everybody. That's okay.
Yeah, you're not gonna like everybody, and everybody's not gonna like you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm like the opposite. I'm more quiet, and I'm a listener. So like we have the complementary,
Mhm.
and now that I understand you, and it's just kind of like, oh, okay, well, she's got an idea, so let her say it. It's not. I don't have a problem with you like jumping in because I understand where it's coming from. It's not. You're not trying
Mhm.
to diminish me. You got to get it out. That's fine.
Yeah, my memory's shitty. So sometimes if I don't jump in and say it, if I wait, I'll forget it. You'll be like, what were you saying? I'll be like, damn, I don't know. Like, and then, like I said, there are some people who are the social climbers that only talk to you once you're agented or once you start making steps in the right direction. And sometimes you got to be like Jay Marie and just be like, well, if you weren't there for me then, I don't know about now. You know what I mean? Set healthy boundaries, whatever works for you.
Yeah. Trust your gut, as they say. I feel like you'll know the types of people, especially if you're around people for a while. You'll know why they're around. You'll know. And then you can figure out what you want to do with that.
So let's give advice for people on trying to find right friendships.
Um, See, here's where I'm conflicted because all of my writer friends I found in MFA programs,
Hmm.
and those cost money.
Yes, that's a lot of
There's
money to pay for
there's
friendships.
that. But yeah, if you've got local writing groups, try those. Those haven't always worked for me. They have. Do they still have like online ones? I know you have a friend that you met with an online group.
Hmm. There was a critique group, an online critique group. I wish I could remember the name of it, but I don't. But yeah, we met probably like maybe 2014,
Yeah.
2015, something like that. And volunteer at stuff. Look for
Well, yeah, yeah.
writing festivals or literary awards or different events in your area and volunteer there. And the people we meet who are also volunteering wouldn't be volunteering there if they weren't interested in writing and publishing. So it's a great place to make friends with people with similar interests.
Yeah. Check your libraries too. Libraries always have different book things
That's true.
for
Sometimes they have like book clubs.
volunteers for. Yeah.
And sometimes they have book clubs
Hmm.
and stuff like that. I know at my library, sometimes like during NaNoWriMo, we'll have different programs. That might be a good way to meet local writers.
During what?
NaNoWriMo,
What's that?
National Writing Month, National Book Writing Month. I'm probably saying it terrible because I've never participated in Nano. I've failed it many times, like at least two or three. I've never successfully completed, I should say. But it's like this challenge in November where people try to write a book in a month.
Oh, interesting. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
NaNoWriMo. It's called. So a lot of my library has events around that. So I'm assuming many others may.
Sure, many others do as well.
Yeah. Join critique groups online, offer swap pages, join pitch contests and stuff. If you make it into the contest, then, the mentors and the other mentees might be budding friendships. Sometimes there's a lot of like writing, aspiring writer Facebook friends, groups and stuff like that where you can meet people. Slide into somebody's Zoom, in their DM, excuse me, and strike up a conversation. I wouldn't start with the biggest names.
Oh
And
yeah, they're not gonna.
yeah, because they probably get a lot of DM slides and a lot of people approaching them. And sometimes people have agendas, so they will probably be less receptive. So start with people on your level. If you're querying, look for querying writers. If you're aspiring, look for aspiring writers. And if you guys are all working toward the same goal, eventually one of you will make it. Then eventually two of you will make it. You know what I mean? And then, you'll have your circle of people in the professional realm of it too. And when you find the good ones, show up for them publicly and privately. Don't ditch them because you leveled up. Don't post about how good a friend you are without actually being the friend.
Yeah,
Be the friend in real life. Like if you can't be there physically, you guys can Zoom and chat.
yeah. I do that with all my friends because I'm nowhere near any of them.
And what are red flags you think they could look for with these new friendships?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, well, I mean, let's see. Red flag, people trying to figure out if and who you know anyone.
Mhm.
Because normally, like, you know, I feel like in my conversations with my writer friends, though those things come about in a sense because you get to a place where you trust and like we could talk about certain things, but someone's just like outright trying to figure that out from the beginning, that smells like agenda to me. If someone's asking you for a lot of your help and reading their work, whatever, and they're not giving that same thing in return. Um, yeah. And just simply, I mean, sometimes people just disappear.
Yeah, they vanish when your good news is more than their good news at the time,
Yeah.
or they only reach out when they need something. That goes hand in hand with what you were saying earlier.
Right. Like I've had people reaching out to see what I'm doing if anything has happened, and then when I'm like, "Oh, I'm working on this," but like nothing's been produced or whatever, then they ghost.
And what are some green flags that they should look for in good friends, good writer friends?
I mean, just a good friend, just in someone who is interested in you as a person. Um, to me, that's a huge green flag. And then the commonality of writing as an interest and reading as an
Mm-hmm.
interest is a bonus. All my writer friends, I feel like, well, maybe I can't say that. I was gonna say I feel like we were friends first. But then as with you and I don't know that I can actually say that because we met because of the writing. But yeah, I don't know. It was weird with you. I feel like I've always known you. Like we were friends in a past life or something.
Yeah. True, true, true. I feel like good green flags are good things to look out for as they celebrate your wins and they're genuinely happy for you. They they make space for your lows and they're not just there for the launches and the fun times, but when you're going through crap, you can call them and whine or vent. you know?
Yeah.
And they ask you, what you're working on, how your writing's feeling, and they're not just concerned about what's selling because when you're a writer, writing is part of who you are. So it's not just about what's selling. And what's weird is like if you play basketball, nobody's like, when are you going to the NBA? You know what I mean? If you have a hobby of swimming, nobody's like, well, when are you going to be the next Michael Phelps? But when you're writing, everybody's like, well, when are you going to sell this? You know what I mean? And it can't just be because it's something that's a passion that you love, that's a part of who you are. It always has to be a monetary thing attached to it. And while it's cool when you get the monetary, when the monetary is not coming, it doesn't feel cool because it feels almost like a value judgment on your
Yeah,
work and
it is.
you,
It is. Yeah.
which is very hurtful because I've been on the receiving end of that many, many times. And it's fun.
Mhm. Two things I want to say before I forget them.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the green flags and the friendships and stuff, you will have more acquaintances than anything. So I'm not saying, don't be friendly or whatever with the acquaintances who only show up to the launch parties and that sort of thing, because those
Exactly.
are most of the people you're going to know anyway.
Exactly.
So I'm not saying, we're not saying, oh, those are bad people. That's just how most of it is going to go. They're there. They
Hmm.
showed up for your success. So that's a good thing as well. And I already forgot the other thing I was going to say.
And the tag and post friends are not bad either. Like the people, like we were saying, who only show up at events once a year or who post a picture with you or tag you, that's not a bad thing either because guess what? They're promoting you, they're sharing you, and they post you with their audience, which is still a good thing. So it's not saying that they're a bad friend. It's just saying that you can't always believe everything you see on social media because social media will have somebody believing that this person is your ride or die, your beginning and your end, and really they're a person you see maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So don't judge your life and yourself by other people's experiences because some of the bonds that you're seeing on their timeline aren't even actual bonds of depth. So associates are good, especially in the business. It's mutual promotion, it's mutually beneficial, and they still know the business, so you might be able to still reach out and ask the question you have. So we're definitely not knocking that, but it can get complicated. I found a lot of friends through the author interviews, and that gets complicated because I'm a freelance writer. I write and pitch 2 publications. I am not a staff writer for said publications. So not everything I write and pitch gets picked up. Sometimes they won't want it. Sometimes they won't like it. Sometimes like real life can intervene. Like even with Donnell Clayton, she's like New York Times bestseller, done big things. When I interviewed with her, first time I interviewed her, January 6th happened when they stormed the Capitol and stuff. So I pitched the article. I heard back from Ms. Magazine. They're like, we love it. We're going to run it. January 6th happens. They hit me back. They're like, sorry, right now the news cycle is nothing but people storming the Capitol. Like,
Right, exactly.
so then it
Yeah.
wasn't going to happen. So then I'm thinking, oh, great, she's going to think I'm a liar. I told her they were going to run it. So I'm like, and then I had just got signed on to work for a company at the time. So, me, I'm anxiety spiraling, thinking she's going to think I'm full of shit and everything I was saying is lie. Right? So she probably had no thought about this. She's probably on to the next interview. But in my head, this is where my anxiety spiral goes. So then I'm like circling back, circling back, circling back, trying to see like, hey, have we moved on in the news cycle from that yet? Can we come back to my story? And then finally, and then the Tiny Pretty Things that she co-wrote went on Netflix and it was like in the top 10. So
Mhm.
then I circle back again, and then this time I'm like, top 10 in Netflix, in the US watch shows. And then they put it out. Right. But like sometimes stuff like that happens. Sometimes they're stutters. Sometimes they'll publish it. Sometimes they won't. Lately, with all the AI stuff out there, to be honest with you, sometimes pitching is hard because you're not only competing with real writers, but you're competing with AI articles for the same bandwidth and the same publications. And so, like, you know, so while it's great for meeting people, sometimes it can make things challenging because I can meet people, we can have great conversations. I'm like, wow, I'd love to be their friend. And then like either the article won't come out and then they're looking at me
Yeah,
like I wasted their time.
that's
Or it
true.
might, but it might come out way later because they didn't initially wasn't interested. And then I just like tried a way to reframe it. Like instead of talking about craft, now we're talking about book banning. And I just
Yeah.
honed in on a different part, pitched it again. I don't know. It gets weird, it gets complicated. But I guess what I'm trying to say is give people grace because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And we've all felt the sting of fake friends and the silence that can be deafening.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. Um, oh, I just remembered the other thing I wanted to say was, when you're talking about writing and monetizing it, I myself had to reframe that thought and go back to thinking as writing as a fun thing that I do, And if one day that happens in terms of monetization, great. If not, I'm still doing something that I feel is fun for me.
Mm.
Um, so that can help smooth things over. Well, get rid of some of that anxiety in terms of being a writer. Don't forget why you started writing in the first place.
Right, because it's therapy. It's part of good mental health sometimes, where sometimes it's how we process emotion and pain,
Exactly.
and there's no monetary value that can be placed on that.
Yeah.
But if you want to pay us for it, please do. So if you're Taylor Swift being inspired by your exes to write great songs, or if you're the kidney lady being inspired by your friend's donation, um, you know, inspiration is okay. Just don't be a shitty friend who's like only intent in the friendship is to mine the person for information. And if you're inspired, don't go verbatim, making it obvious that it's that person.
Be
You
smart
can
about it.
take two or three elements from each person, like from three different people to form a character and still tell the same story in a way that won't get you in legal trouble. you know, it might have this one character's ambition, this one person's ambition, this other person's donation, but you change it to bone marrow instead of a kidney. And it could have this third person's temper. And you can swirl all that up into a mix to make a unique individual that is not a carbon copy of someone that'll get you in trouble.
That's
So,
creative writing.
yeah, watch your boundaries, guard your circle, be careful who you open up to, be careful what you put in writing.
And have fun.
Yeah, and have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun, make friends. And that's it for today's episode. If this resonated with you, drop us a DM, slide into our DMs, and tell us how you liked it. And share this with your writing friend or your writing associate. We won't tell. Thanks for listening.
That wraps up today's Craft Chat Chronicles with JD Mayor. Thanks for joining us. If you liked the episode, please comment, subscribe, and share. For show notes, writing workshops, and tips, head to jdmayor.com. That's jdmayor.com. While you're there, join JD's mailing list for updates, giveaways, and more.
Are you struggling to keep your writing organized? Trust me, I've been there. I want to introduce you to Scrivener, the ultimate program for all writers. You can outline, draft, and even edit all in one place. Whether it's your next novel, screenplay, or even thesis, Scrivener helps you stay focused and finish strong. Scrivener adapts to your workflow. From your first draft to the final edit, it's a writer's secret weapon. Click on the link below and get started on your Scrivener writing journey today.